Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. Hope you're wanting to stay curious today with me, Mark Marquette. I'm the director at the American Space Museum right here in downtown Titusville, Florida, where for over 20 years, the U.S. Space Walk of Fame Foundation has been celebrating the birth of the American space age. No kidding, I'm just 9 miles away from the big vehicle assembly building, or maybe vertical assembly building if you were on the Cape at the time of Marty Winkle, my co-producer, who worked on the Grumman lunar module, Marty. And indeed, it was called the vertical assembly building, was it not?
It certainly was.
And now we call it the vehicle assembly building after processing the mighty Saturn V and the Apollo hardware to go to the moon, and then the shuttle program, and now Artemis has been stacked in there. So what's this behind me there, everybody? Steve Jokums, Doug Forrest, maybe a couple of you've got a question out there. Let's see. Oh, I'm trying to bring up the show here today, Marty. Give me just a second there, folks. I don't see it. So let me go that way. Well, what is this behind me? It's obviously a command module of our great program, Apollo program, but which one is it and where is it? And it ties into an historical fact of tomorrow, where there is February 8th, 1971 is a historic day in NASA, and stay tuned and I'll tell you why. We've got Dave Stange says hello to both of us, as well as Man Space, which is Mitch Rothman. His Facebook, NASA Man Space, has got a lot of history on it, and sometimes we share that on our page, and sometimes he shares what we share. So great relationship with wonderful Mitch Rothman and his wife Paula, by the way. Mitch, you know where this is? Which CM is this? What's the numbers on that baby? And where's it at? And where's it at today? Well, stay tuned and stay curious. We want to thank the Ramanujam family for their generous contributions to the American Space Museum, particularly Shuttle Fest. GoHistoryTravel.org is where they record all kinds of blogs around the world, a lot of European destinations and all over America. And their son Bharat is very into astronauts and goes to astronauts' hometowns, visits them wherever he can find them. And all of that is on their GoHistoryTravel.org website. Mal Rama and Bharat Ramanujam, thank you for supporting us and making it possible to bring some high-quality astronauts to Shuttle Fest. Saturday, bid till it hurts. We've been talking about it. I spared you from a big show on auction today, as we talked about it twice this week, and we've got some interesting astronauts on Black History Month to celebrate that we always enjoy doing. But tomorrow, important to keep our cash flow going, is the charity auction number 36, Marty. My first one was number 5. Can't believe it, 8 years ago. Saturday, tomorrow at noon to 5, you can pre-bid now. Hit that QR code or go to our americanspacemuseum.org website, and you can download the information there and bid now. The idea is you can pre-bid, and a lot of people have. There's some awesome autographed astronaut autographs in there. Yes, you can buy Neil and Buzz together on a car placard. There's dozens of crew signed lithographs and photographs from the shuttle. All kinds of coins, all kinds of space-flown flags, patches. And so there's a Bob Seeks award that he got on the right there, and Tom Stafford's award that he got for ASTP on the left there. And in the middle is a piece of space-flown, space-flown in between the tiles. Yeah, what they call in between the tiles there. Yeah, spacer, let's say. Yeah,
It's a tether.
What you got there, Marty?
I forgot to tell you about that.
Oh, okay. Bruce McCandless's famous spacewalk anniversary is 41 years ago today.
40 years. No, 41, you're right.
February 7th. All right, that's a good one. As our shuttles of the month, STS 41A, is it? Going to make me get out my shuttle scroll We talked about 3 shuttles this week also. That was 41B, yes. And boy, McCandless is, that was one of the most famous, iconic pictures. I'll be sharing that on Facebook. I'll bet Mitch is already all over that on his Manned Space Facebook page. All right. Please share this, watch it, even if you don't have some money to get involved. You're going to be fascinated with how much stuff goes for and learn a lot of history too. It's going to take 6 hours to go through all those 350 lots, but they'll all get sold and go to great homes on there. Manned Space says that's Skylab 4 behind me here. Okay, and Dean Babcock says hello. And yes, he said that's the Skylab 4 and also known as 3. We'll talk about that here in just a second. You guys are right. That is Skylab 4. What is the CM number on it, folks? I think it's 119, but I don't know the CMs like I do the LM numbers. Hi, Carlton Bailey. And 2 weekends we'll be selling some of your wares at Beachside Hotel. And hi, Tom Celentano. We're in a hot 80-degree weather pattern here on the Space Coast. I turned the air conditioner on finally in the museum. Here is about our space memorabilia show. 2 weeks from Saturday. We still have a few vendor tables I would sell, though we've got plenty of vendors, and now we need plenty of sellers to come in there and buy again. Just like our auction, you don't know what you're going to see, what you're going to get, but except it is authentic on there. Tom Colbert is in Turkey on the holidays. Thank you, Tom. Middle of the night over there, probably. Probably at least 10, 11 o'clock. So thank you, Tom Colbert. Good to see you popping up there. And 2 months away, we're in pretty good shape for these 4 astronauts to be just hanging out at the Hyatt Place Hotel in Titusville. Very cozy place to check out, just hang out. As you see, a lot more people than just Eileen Collins, Don Thomas, Joe Tanner, and John Grunsfeld coming. I know a couple astronauts that I've told every astronaut, but I know a couple will stop by and take me up on my offer, Marty, to buy them a beer. And Saturday will be the time to do it. And Saturday is going to be an autograph session at 4 in the afternoon until they want to cut it off at 5:30 or 6. So we will be having Dave Chudwin will be there with his 2 books, baby boomer books. Jonathan Ward wrote a book on Eileen Collins, and then the shuttle book, Bringing Columbia Home, with Mike Leinbach. We're hoping Mike's going to be there. He's invited. Bob Seek launched 51 shuttles and 51 landed, he keeps reminding me. Jay Honeycutt, just talking to Jay today on the phone, Marty. And Jay's telling me that the Gateway has been completely eliminated from the plans of the Artemis going to the moon. And that's from a reliable source of Jay's. Artist Chris Calley helping me co-chair this thing that's becoming a monster, happily so. And Mark and Tom Usiak are going to have a panel. The great Nick Thomas, educator to Space Center over 38 years, will be there. And Space Hipster #1, Emily Carney, will also be there. We're efforting showing Eileen Collins's documentary. So you get it? A dozen of you have signed up already, bought tickets, and half a dozen of you have reserved hotel rooms. You're not going to want to miss this. When we have Shuttle Fest 5 and beyond, this is the one that will be talked about for years, where people, I hope, say you should have been there, because we'll be moving it to a much bigger venue on Cocoa Beach probably, and start getting it more commercialized. But I'm so happy to offer this fellowship to so many wonderful people like yourself out there. Warms my heart that you all want to come, as well as the astronauts. We're going to talk about these African Americans that have done great things in the American Space Program as we celebrate Black History Month every year at the American Space Museum. Marty, we've done this 4 years now. Okay, this will be our 4th cycle to do this. We'll be celebrating our 5th year in March of Stay Curious, hard to believe. But this was some meat and potatoes for me to do a lot of research and give honor to our African American space workers as well as the astronauts. So you're going to hear about Sharon McDougall there, Caples McDougall. We've got Drew, Alvin Drew in the center there, Leland Melvin with Leland's Rhodesian Ridgeback dogs, and of course the great Charlie Bolden, twice a pilot, twice a commander, and then a great leader for NASA under the Obama administration. And a guy that shoots from the hip and tells what he means, and he got him in trouble a couple times, and I'll mention that when we talk about Frank. I keep saying Frank. Charlie, his middle name's Frank. Charlie is Charles Frank Bolden from Charlotte area there. Actually, I think he's from Columbia. Well, a little bit of stargazing to set you off for the weekend. Marty, the moon is 12 days old. No, it's actually 10 days old. So talk like an astronomer. That means it's at the gibbous phase. It just passed first quarter on Wednesday, this Friday. So it's 9.5, 10 days old. And Wednesday, it'll be a full phase. So the moon's up in the sky. Last night, that bright star near it was the planet Jupiter. And tonight, it will be between Jupiter to its right and Mars to its left. And then you can't miss Venus blazing brightly in the western sky where the sun sets. Now, between the horizon and Venus is the planet Saturn. And you can see it pretty good, but it's not as bright as Venus. And the rings are tilted, so it looks like a spike going through it. Was looking at the other night. Now, next week, Mercury will pop up right below Saturn. And everybody's losing their minds that they say it's in a rare occasion when Mercury and 7 of the planets will be lined up together, okay? And you look down at the Earth, and that's the 8th one. No, this happened last summer, and nobody saw it or talked about it because it was in the morning sky, and you had to get up at 5:30 to see Mercury rise with the sun, and then there was Venus, and you're never going to see Neptune. Neptune's near Saturn. I mean, near it's between Saturn and Venus, bright Venus, and over between Mars and Jupiter. Jupiter's directly overhead. Mars is rising, nice and red. In between there's Uranus. Over by Mars, you'll notice 2 really bright stars to the left of it, above each other. That's the twins of Gemini, Castor and Pollux. And next to Jupiter is another kind of reddish star. That's the eye of of the bull Taurus called Aldebaran. So CM118 is what I'm told. Did I guess that? I think I said 120. So this is how many days the moon in age tells you where it is in the sky. I say it's 10 days old tonight. Get you some moonshine out there. Put some binoculars on it. You're going to be amazed at what you see. Hold them nice and steady, or get that telescope out of the garage. It's the spiders have been playing with all winter long, and check out some beautiful moonshine as the moon dance is going on now. There's a graphic to show you. The moon is actually above the constellation Orion, all right, with 2 really bright stars. All of its stars are really bright. You'll notice the 3 bright stars is the belt of Orion. All right, somebody turned in the belt of Orion, Marty, as drones over New Jersey. No, it was stars, the belt of Orion. The moon you see is between Mars and Jupiter in yellow, and Castor and Pollux are right there, and a couple other bright stars. So go out and enjoy some moonshine and learn a little bit about the stars and enjoy the planets. Well, we'll give you a little heads up on a little movie documentary that's out there that I talked to one of the principals that wrote the book. There's a book and a movie called The Barber, the Astronaut, and the Golf Ball. And as Apollo 14 is heading back to Earth with splashdown on February 9th, 1971, there is picture of the video screen of Alan Shepard smacking a golf ball. And the story is about, did he or did he not give a golf ball that was on the moon to his barber, Carlos? And see, Carlos's last name is, I don't see it up there. There it is. Yeah. Valagomez, Carlos Valagomez. I've talked to Barbara Rednowski and Ed Spusky. They did the documentary and wrote the book about this. And I talked to Alan Shepard's daughter, Laura Shepard, out at the Astronaut Memorial for Apollo 1 last week. And she knows me, and we talked a little bit. And I said, the documentary, The Astronaut, the Golf Ball, and the Barber, true or not? What do you think? Do you know about that? She goes, oh, yes, they asked me to come out to Colorado for the premiere of it and so forth. Carlos was like a family friend. Daddy loved him, went and saw him all the time. And but she goes, I don't know if he gave Carlos the golf ball or not. But Laura Shepard Churchley, who rode on Blue Origin's new Shepard, by the way, with I think Bezos and his brother and Strahan, the football player, went on there. She said she doesn't know if he did hand her Carlos a golf ball that was on the moon. There's some speculation. What kind of golf ball was it? Some say it was a McGregor. Some say it was a Titleist. That went to Shepard's grave. Laura, his daughter, does say there was 3 of us girls, and I'm sure he took a golf ball for each one of us. Okay, but she's a golfer. She said Dad duffed the first shot. All right, and then the next 2 he did hit, and I think he picked up the one that he duffed and put it in his pocket and brought it back to Earth. I not reviewed the footage of that to see if he did take 3 swipes at 3 different balls, or maybe he didn't talk about it at the time. Very videotape is what we're looking at back then. So very interesting story, and I share with you a personal story of what is privileged to be around space workers and people like Laura Churchley, who grew up as a shepherd under the limelight of her father. And boy, does her eyes just brighten up. She's got beautiful blue eyes. And when she talks about her dad, you can just see that father-daughter relationship that I have with my daughter, and I'm so happy to have. And she said, I said, well, I read something, Laura, that they were in 28-day quarantine, and when they got out, the first thing your dad did was go to see Carlos and get his hair cut. Yeah, he was not seen in public until he got his hair cut. And she said, yep, that's true. That sounds exactly like Daddy. He was a Navy guy. He loved looking sharp wherever he went. And he always did look handsome, she said. And he certainly was. But he didn't want to go get a steak, Marty. He didn't want to go talk to his crew members or go see his wife. He wanted to get his hair cut. And that's what this story's about, is when he saw Carlos Villagomez, his barber for decades. He said, hold out your hand, and he put something in my hand. Carlos says, it's up there. He shook my hand, and I felt something there, and he gave me a ball. The barber, the astronaut, and the golf ball is about that ball. And he said, I was going to say, what was this on the moon surface, but I didn't want to put him on the spot like that. And he never did ask him. And it is signed and autographed. So cute little story. Check it out. Well, tomorrow, February 8th, this is the 7th today, 2025, we'll celebrate the 51st anniversary of the end of the Skylab program. Now, there you see the beautiful patch, 3. You see the big 3 there. Let's see, what does this patch symbolize there while we're at it here. A little impromptu grab of the NASA mission patch book, and I wonder what the triangular shape meant, is what spurred this. The symbols on the patch refer to the 3 major areas of investigation in the mission. The tree represents man's natural environment and represents the mission objectives of advancing the study of Earth resources. The hydrogen atom, as the basic building block of the universe, represents man's exploration of the physical world, his application of knowledge, and his development of technology, and that's right there. And this encompasses the whole Skylab 3 missions. Since the sun is comprised primarily of hydrogen, it is appropriately that the symbol refers to the solar physics mission objectives. The human silhouette represents mankind and the human capacity to direct technology with wisdom, tempered by regard for his natural environment. The rainbow relates to biblical story of the flood and symbolizes the promise that is offered man. The design was created by NASA artist Barbara Matalski from ideas submitted by the crew. Okay, now here's a footnote. The Skylab manned missions are officially listed as Skylab 2, 3, and 4, with Skylab 1 being the initial launch of the Skylab space station itself. However, the patches for the manned Skylab missions are numbered 1, 2, and 3. And here we've talked about many times the division between the firing room engineering group, like Marty, and the media group reporting the missions under Hugh Harris and other public affairs officers like me. So there are 4 firing room Skylab badges, and one is the orbital workshop, the OWS, and the other 2 to 4 to the engineering world are the crewed missions. But to the media world, as you see by the symbol of the 3, it's there, and there are other symbols there. So the mission of this one was a record 84 days, okay, longest in the history of human spaceflight at the time, and lasted for 5 or 6 years till a Salyut station of Russia eclipsed it. Here's the 1973 crew of Kerwin, Pete Conrad, and Paul Weitz. Kerwin is still alive. Saw him June at the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. Launched on a milk stool, they called it, on the left, Saturn 1B, propped up so that they didn't have to move the launch umbilical tower structures that were set up for the Saturn V. And then Skylab 3 was in November of 1973, and that there is, of course, Alan Bean. He was the commander in his Apollo 12 moonwalking mate. Pete Conrad was the commander of the first Skylab. And, you know, they both found the Skylab very rewarding, Marty, as well as their moon mission, all right? And Bean said he enjoyed being in space that long, where it, you know, longer than he was on the lunar module stuff. So you got Owen Garriott on the far right and Jack Lausma in the middle, 88 years young. Actually, he's only 22 because he was born on a leap day. But I've had the privilege of meeting Jack Lausma several times. Not sure he'll come back to the Kennedy Space Center, as he hasn't been out there for about a year. But very, very interesting man, and so privileged to have had a couple meals with him. Marty, go ahead.
Yeah, Dean Babcock is asking, does anyone know where the Skylab command modules are located?
Well, Dean, that's somebody can Google it or look it up there, but I'm going to tell you where this one is. That's our question, is where is this one behind me now? That's at the Smithsonian, but it's not there right now. So I think one is in Pensacola at the Naval Air Station, or maybe I'm not gonna guess. I'm not on my game to be guessing right now. There's Skylab 2. Arabella and Anita were 2 spiders that they took up to space and did all kinds of medical tests. They went from 28 days on this mission to 56 days to 84 days finally. And that, of course, is Jerry Carr on the left, Ed Gibson in the middle, and Bill Pogue on the right. Rookie crew, Carr, one of the few rookie commanders. Name another rookie commander, Marty, off the top of your head. Can you? Put you on the spot?
Yeah, I'm on the spot.
Couple rookie commanders.
Depends on how far back you go.
Well,
they were all rookies on Gemini.
Yeah, they were all
Mercury.
They were all commanders on Mercury, weren't they?
Right.
Just one person. Gemini 8, Armstrong, Armstrong and Scott. So Armstrong was the commander there. And someone will chime in with another one there. That is the restoration area at Udvar Hazy, or as the caption said behind me, Smithsonian at the time. Yep, Armstrong's one, Mitch. So anyway, there's I met Jerry Carr before he died, really a cool guy. And there's a documentary about Jerry Carr, the astronaut and the artist. And this has to do with Jerry Carr and his wife. Mitch Rothman has been behind that a long time. And maybe we'll show that at Shuttlefest also. Really a tremendous baby boomer flashback. That documentary is as his wife, who is an artist in the New England area, like Vermont, I think, was well known for her folk art and her eclectic art there. So Armstrong was the last one before Carr. Okay, I was trying to think if there was somebody. Lessons learned. The tremendous Skylab program, often forgotten. We did this in about a 2-year period, folks. Okay, actually a year and a half. We orbited these guys, and then next up was the Apollo-Soyuz test project in July 1975. So here you are in February and November, and then in the summer. So, I'm pointing that out that we kept the pace of like a SpaceX pace NASA did back in the day. Well, there's the lessons learned. Humans can live a longer time in space, push the envelope, demonstrated success of multi-organizational ground operations, reduced concern of radiation exposure to crews. They really thought, what if you can only stay in space 30 days, but then your cells start getting fried by the radiation. That wasn't the case. Of course, there is some radiation protection inside. Set the standards for future ground operations to orbiting space stations. And one lesson learned there was how to repair and emergency repair in space and the free thinking that all that involves. So very, very important program, bedrock for what we're doing now at the International Space Station. Hope you've all enjoyed that look back as the Skylab program ends 51 years ago tomorrow, February 8th, 1971. Well, Black History Month celebrated around America, and something that we've always done. And let's talk about 3 outstanding astronauts and a wonderful suit tech who's really a hidden figure. First up is Colonel Benjamin Alvin Drew, born November 5th, 1962 in Washington, D.C. And so he's about he's 62 years old. His first shuttle mission was 118, and then he was on 133, Discovery's final mission. 25 days in space. He's got 2 EVAs at 12 hours total. That's about right, 6 hours each. He was in the U.S. Air Force, spent over 600 hours in space, as it says there. Moved to Brooklyn, Washington, when he was 4 years old, Washington, D.C. area there. And he recalls as early as age 4 wanting to be a pilot. And so he went to Embry-Riddle University. I didn't know he's an Embry-Riddle grad. Well, that's interesting. So's Nicole Stott, who flew with him on 133. And there is Katie Coleman with him on his EVA. Mike is in the back there. I've lost Mike's last name as I was thinking of him. He just came back from the space station. And there is Andrew. Drew, I keep saying Andrew. There is Drew with Nicole Stott. Okay, Alvin Drew. He was a mission specialist on Discovery and conducted a spacewalk, becoming the 200th person to walk in space. And I believe he did that spacewalk with Nikki there. And so he was actually a replacement of Clayton Anderson. who has moved to 117, and then he moved on his first at the thing. Drew has co-founded the Patty Grace Smith Fellowship, a branch of the Brooke Owens Fellowship, intended to provide resources for African American undergraduate students pursuing careers in aerospace. So kudos to you, Alvin Drew. Next up, as we celebrate Black History Month on Stay Curious, this is a picture we have in the White Room there with Travis Thompson there putting a lighted a glow stick in the arm there of him there. And back there's the astronaut we featured the other day, and his name's escaping me, Marty. Kerbeam. Yeah, that's Kerbeam in the back there, I believe. Leland Melvin, born February 15th, 1964. So he's 61 years old. No, he's going to be 61 years old after Valentine's. We'll be celebrating Leland's birthday next week. 24 days in space, born in Lynchburg, Virginia. A wide receiver on the University of Richmond. He was a good one in 1982 to 85. Had 198 catches and 2,600 yards and 16 touchdowns. He was chosen by the Detroit Lions deep in the NFL draft, like 11th round. They don't do that anymore. So he would have been a walk-on. And he did go to training camp, but he blew out pulled a hamstring, was released. But he did still love football, and he went up to the Toronto Canadian Argonauts and played on their practice squad. But he tried a couple times to get in the NFL, including the Dallas Cowboys. 2 missions in space. There's Alvin in space, STS-122 and 129, a mission specialist. Those were 129. His last mission was in November of 2009. The 31st flight to the International Space Station. And he brought back Nicole Stott from her long duration trip up there. So Nicole came down from the space station with the Leland Melvin, and then she went back up with Alvin Drew. He's published 2 books. One is Chasing Space, an astronaut's story of grit, grace, and second chances. And boy, do you need second chances in this world. There he is, giving a kid a second chance at a game there. And then his other book is a young children's reader called Chasing Space. He plays the piano. He's been featured in several National Geographic space documentaries and videos. He is a social media person. He's on Facebook quite a bit. And he loves to talk about his Rhodesian Ridgebacks, these beautiful dogs here. That the lady we're going to talk about, who is the suit room tech, Sharon Caples McDougall, was responsible for the suits and everything. She had to sew some of them, had sewing kits, and she was so worried, Marty, that the dogs were going to rip his spacesuit or do something to it. And I think this is one of the few times that dogs were allowed inside the offices at Houston Johnson Space Center. At least I've been told that. So Melvin's a great guy, Leland Melvin, and that's one of the iconic astronaut pictures, of course, in there. Again, a spacewalker. No, he didn't do any spacewalk. No, he didn't. He's 23 days, almost 24 days in space there. And he's involved with students and STEAM education and reaching out to all communities. And our final astronaut on this second segment of the month of Black History astronauts and leaders is Charlie Frank Bolden. Was born August 19th, 1946. I knew it was Columbia, South Carolina, because I've been to the fabulous Museum of Natural History and Science in Columbia. They've got a lot of refracting telescopes there, Clark telescopes, but they got a cool display of his where they've got his airplane, his helmet from his aviation days. He's a major general in the Marines, URA, Vietnam veteran. piloted 2 shuttle missions, STS-61C and 31. 61C was with Bill Nelson, the congressman of Florida at the time, and he and Nelson became NASA administrators. Then he was commander of STS-45 and STS-60. One of those took up the first Russian in space, Krikalev, on a space shuttle, not his first trip to space. But I've never been around Charlie Bolden. A lot of my friends who have just love him. He's a fun guy. Marty, did you say you've been around him?
No.
In circumstances? Okay. Of course, he was a naval test pilot at Paxton River Navy Air Station and become a Marine. And but what he did during the Obama administration was when he was appointed administrator in 2009, was he said, quote, "We're going to turn science fiction into science fact." All right. And he said what he means. It kind of got his foot in his mouth a couple times. But I think that's great. He wasn't as innocent things he was saying. I'll tell you one here in a minute. He talked about the Constellation program, compared it to a stillborn calf extracted from from the womb. He said, "We've got some stillborn calves around, and we got to figure out a way to help each other and bring them back to life." That's the way he talked about the state of the space program at the time. And there's Charlie getting his suit on by Sharon McDougall, who I talked about here in just a minute. Something else Charlie said in a June 2010 interview with Al Jazeera, Bolden said that the top 3 goals he was tasked with by the Obama administration were: 1, help re-inspire children to get into science and math; 2, to expand NASA's internal relationships; and 3, reach out to the Muslim world to help them feel good about their historic contributions to science, math, and engineering. Well, the White House quickly disagreed with Bolden's statement, with press secretary saying Bolden had misspoke, that was not his task. That's not the task of NASA. All right. And Bolden, he had a long-term ambition of landing astronauts on Mars, and kept criticizing during his tenure that NASA didn't have enough money. All right. So where does he end up in his retirement of NASA and so forth? He left NASA and he served as the United Arab Emirates Space Advisory Committee for the Muslim world. So, and UAB has done some amazing, United Arab Emirates has done some amazing missions already, including going to, I think they've got some that went to Mars and the moon on there. Well, Elena is saying hi. From SA, somebody told me might be what country?
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, all right. Elena, love to have you. Carlton says a good University of Richmond Spiders from one-time Richmond Spider, and that's where Leland Melvin went. A good book about Skylab, Dean Babcock says, is Homesteading Space. He's absolutely right. One of the first really good books of the space era that was about living in space. And Cliffy Watson down in Pomona, Australia. He's just getting up with his brekkie. He says, "I'm sorry I'm late, mate, but it's Saturday morning." So between the lines, he might be putting a little lime in the coconut to drink it down fast to get rid of his headache there, maybe. So thank you, Elena. Ad Hakara, you show all those friends of yours in Saudi Arabia what we're up to here of sharing American space history as well as diversity. So let's finally end this little diversity lesson of some awesome astronauts that are in our communities today. And I guarantee you all 3 of those astronauts are giving talks to all kinds of people, black, white, whatever, Asian, Indian, uh, Hispanic, and inspiring them also with their challenges of meeting their goals. I love this lady. We've met her personally. I'll show you a picture of her. This is Sharon Caples McDougall, who's a modern day hidden figure born in Moss Point, Mississippi. Okay. She is a former NASA suit tech at Johnson Space Center. And she's the author of a book. Here's her Facebook page. Know her name, know her story, Sharon McDougall. Uh, Everyone knows that Mae Jamison's the first black woman to travel to space, but many don't know that a black woman suited her up, and that's who she was. She was Mae Jamison's suit tech. She also made history as the first black crew escape equipment suit tech. Okay, and crew chief. She wrote a beautiful little book called Suit Up Shay. We've sold out of them here at our bookstore. But we're waiting for her to come to the Space Coast. She was here a couple years ago. I'll show you a picture of her in here with another friend of mine, Dolores Abrams, who trying to get Dolores on the show, but haven't succeeded yet. There she is in one of the classic pictures they took of her when there was some publicity going around. She worked for United Space Alliance there at Johnson Space Center in her suit room. Fitted him up, the suits that went out to Kennedy Space Center. Several times she did go out to Kennedy Space Center for the suit ups. But she showed me a sewing kit she had. There's Guy Bluford, signed that for her. And we learned through Sharon that the photo process of the official crew photos is quite a day event. They get in spacesuits, they get in civilian clothes, they can get in military clothes, and they can get into a silly outfit also. And then the suit techs, like Sharon and her crew, get pictures made with them. And there she is with Mae Jemison. Of course, Bluford is the first African-American man to go to space on STS-8. Then he had 3 other fabulous missions. And Mae Jemison, though, just had 1 mission, STS-49 there with the Japan Kibo module taken up there. And there's Sharon actually doing a little stitching, it looks like, on something. Maybe a crew patch or something on there. And there she is with Dolores. I haven't seen Dolores. Dolores comes to the luncheon of NASA people that I'm privileged to attend. There they are with Kathy Thornton's suit there a couple years ago when they were in here. And for the life of me, Marty, I don't know why we didn't record a show with them on there. But so that was my fault. But that was probably, a little green behind the ears there and didn't think about that at the time. We will get Dolores Abrams was the NASA operations and checkout. She was managing the astronaut crew quarters and the kitchen on what was called the ONC, Operations and Checkout, today known as the Neil Armstrong building. So she would go get a snack for an astronaut or go get them a hot cup of tea or whatever they wanted sometimes, but make sure that they were well taken care of. That's Sharon Caples McDougall on the left there, and Dolores Abrams, her good friend. Now Sharon's husband, by the way, is Mr. McDougall is he's a swimming instructor and at the neutral buoyancy lab. He's one of the important people that are in the water with the astronauts when they're training in spacesuits in the neutral buoyancy lab. So hope to see you soon, Sharon, and your husband. And you too, Dolores. Well, here's an idea of what I was saying. There's Sharon with the crew. That's 49, because that's Mae Jemison in the back there. And that's Jan Davis on the left. All right, Hoot Gibson in the middle. There, Brown is the commander. Nagel is on the left of him. Malkawi, Japanese, and I'm blanking out on the other guy there, so that's okay. But there are the suit tech people with her there, all right? And then they would do pictures like this that we have on our wall, okay, that shows Kerbeam there. They were kind of a thematic thing. There's actually astronauts at the Astros baseball game, and I saw Sharon in the crowd of that, and the other astronauts are in the dugout and so forth. Well, this was kind of a punk thug, street fighting man type of thing, where Sharon Ivins and that's Tom Jones on the far right, and it was a poster that you'd see down going the hallways. Marty says going to the bathroom or a meeting, and think safety. You got a problem with that, and in other words, it says do your job, or we could die. All right. So Elena's saying South Africa. All right. Okay, we'll take that. So thank you so much, South Africa.
Mark, she's saying sometimes translates to South Africa.
Oh, well, where is she?
I don't know. She says she likes both versions, so I
We're just glad she's watching Stay Curious today on a Friday. And there's Sharon again with the same crew there, with another one of her mates there. They put on fake tattoos. Or maybe some of them didn't have fake tattoos, but maybe a couple of them did. And that's, yeah. And there we have Sharon. Thank you so much for letting us come into your homes on Stay Curious and share with you some of the highlights of the American space program. And of course, one of the big highlights, I think, is the integration of everybody in the space program, and the fact that, hey, my life depends on you, girl, boy, whatever. We are a team up there. Right, Dave Stange and Mitch Rothman and Dean Babcock, Carlton Bailey, Tom Stellantano, Tom Colbert's watching Turkey, Doug Forrest, Tommy Usiak, Bill Whiting, Elena's watching, Ed Cowrie, and Cliff Watson. A lot of you are watching that don't chime in, and we certainly appreciate that as it helps us monetize our YouTube channel. And so here we've got this image here of Skylab 3, but engineers would call it 4. There it is. That is actually at Udvar Hazy, or wherever that facility is at Smithsonian, to restore them. Then I do believe it rests in the Oklahoma City Science Museum. That's a fabulous one. And about an hour west of there is Weatherford, Oklahoma, where Tom Stafford's awesome museum is. I like that a lot. So where's the other? Skylab 4 is headed to Stafford Museum, Weatherford, Oklahoma City. Okay. And so Dean Babcock asks where the other 3 are at, or located for proper English. And here it is in the Oklahoma City facility. Because a picture I took 5 years ago, maybe. I believe that's Tom Stafford's spacesuit in the foreground. There's a mole, a blue mole suit there. Really cool to see. So that gives me hungry to get on the road and see some museums. I haven't seen another good space museum in a while. So there you are, folks. Thank you for watching today, staying curious with us today. Please check out the auction tomorrow. It starts at noon. Go to our website or click the QR code, and it'll take you right to where you can register. And of course, they'll take your financial information there and firstborn, so that you can pay stuff off at the end there. But no, seriously, Bid Again Auctions, Chuck Jeffries doing a great job. He has it in his heart to do this now for the 36th time to raise money for the American Space Museum. It has been turned into a business, as where Chuck was giving us all the money for years on there, and it just got too much. This is it takes 2 or 3 weeks to put up 300 lots for another show. So hope that you find it in your hearts to bid, and bid till it hurts, as there's all kinds of things that you can own to give them good homes. So I'm going to do this and say, as Marty's coming in here, thank you, Marty, just timely enough for me to go out. I don't see anybody helping us there where the other command modules are of the Skylab. So we'll come back with that Monday. Monday, we're rolling into the middle of February. We've got some guests booked up. Saw Terry White today. Bob Granath is going to want to come in here and do another show, efforting Nick Thomas for what he wants to talk about. Nick didn't have any Valentine stories, and I thought there'd be something out there, Valentines and astronauts, but and Valentine's Day is just around the corner, guys. Today's the 7th, so I guess it's a week from today. Egads, that'll fill up the restaurants real quick. So, thank you, Marty, for a great week. He helped do the show remotely, all right, and then he's here live in the studio. So, appreciate that very much. So, I'm going to be efforting and spreading the news at something I enjoy on the Space Coast called Pioneer Days at Sam's house on Merritt Island. So if you're local, come on over, 20 or 30 vendors. I'll be over at St. Luke's Church with our good volunteer Steve Izzo, talking about the American Space Museum and looking through a telescope safely at the sun and maybe a bird or two in the distance. So thank you all for watching. Tell your friends to like us, share us, and above all, stay curious. Until next time, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you again in our museum to bridge the space between us.